You're listening to the Nichole Banks Podcast, episode 100, The Real Pain of Not Changing. Welcome to the Nichole Banks Podcast, where divorced women heal, grow, and find new love and dare to begin thriving. I'm Nicole, your divorce recovery coach and happy hour queen. If you're a Gen Xer ready to shake things up, level up, and have some fun, you're in the right place. Buckle up. We're getting into today's episode starting now. Well, good morning, beautiful. Hello, how are you? Welcome back to the Nichole Banks Podcast, your go-to spot for all things healing, heartache, and happiness after divorce. I am your host, Nichole Banks, twice divorced, happily in love, and your personal cheerleader as we navigate life, love, and everything in between. How the heck are you? I hope you're doing well. What a beautiful weekend we had here in Arizona. Of course, it is fall, and this is the whole season everybody lives for, right? We just came out of the heat of summer, and now we're dipping into the low 80s and the high 70s, and a crisp morning, and then the nice warm up in the afternoon. And yes, it is the reason we live here. We love this time of year. So grab your spiked lemonade or maybe a warm tea, depending on your mood and your location, of course. Let's dive into today's episode. We're talking about something that hits home for so many of us, the real pain of not changing. Now, listen, for some of you that are new here, welcome. We appreciate you being here, and I hope you stick around. For those that have been listening for a minute, y'all know that I have gone through a couple changes with this podcast, right? So the true podcast story simply starts as this. My friend and I were having a conversation, and we're like, we should do a podcast. Yeah, that would be so much fun. And we did. And because of the location, I was in Vancouver, she was in Eugene. It just made it really difficult for us to make it make sense. So realistically speaking, I've always wanted to be in broadcasting or journalism or things such as that. And I actually said, you know what? I really miss the podcast. I'm going to go ahead and start my own. So I did. And I did that exact thing. And it was called My Accountability Partner. And that was a lot of fun and I enjoyed it. But, as my niche changed, I felt like my message continued to change as well. And so then I developed the Nichole Banks Podcast as a life coach. And this last year and a half, been working with a business coach. And we are just niching down into the Nichole Banks Podcast, a podcast for women healing after divorce. So therein lies the show today. So I love this topic, the real pain of not changing. My whole point of me telling you about the podcast story is I've done something similar to this, but this is my fresh take on it. So I'm excited. It is my 100th show. We are celebrating. Whoop, whoop. Can I get a whoop? I am beyond thrilled that you guys are here for the journey. So thank you for being here. So one of the things I know for sure is that it is so easy to talk about change, right? As a matter of fact, my girlfriend and I, Cindy, we were at an outdoor festival this weekend, and it was stunning and beautiful. Lots of art, lots of amazing food. And the first thing we were talking about literally is change of habit of eating and healthy and walking and workouts and just our weight. We're just unhappy. So be mindful that it's November. And back in January, I had lost 10 pounds on the Weight Watchers, and I kind of just stopped. To be real with you, I felt like I just lost interest and I just stopped. So there's that. But I lost 10 pounds, and believe it or not, I found all 10 pounds back. Every single one of them. Can't buy my car keys every other day, but yes, I found 10 pounds back. So here we go. We're going to change. It's not easy to change, but yet it's easy to talk about it. We say we want it, but the real challenge comes when it's time to do what? Action, to make the shift. And the truth is, if we don't change, we end up stuck in the same cycle, repeating the same painful patterns. And trust me, I have been there. I am literally uncomfortable in my own skin. That's the weight I want to lose. I look at my photos and my videos and I'm like, oh my gosh. And of course we're our worst critic, but the reality is when I feel uncomfortable, trust me, it's uncomfortable. So today we are going to talk about why it hurts not to change and how to face it head on. And most importantly, how you can break free from that cycle I am on this journey right along with you. So let's get started, shall we? Okay, so let's just start with the truth bomb. Staying the same feels safe, but it also feels like you're dying inside. I have heard it, I have felt it, and I know many of you have too. We stay in the same toxic patterns, the same relationship habits, the same mindset, thinking it's just easier this way. So for myself, when it comes to health and fitness, I really want to change because I want to go and do some 5K runs. I was so inspired recently, interviewed on a podcast promoting my book coming out, and the podcast episode's coming out in January. And she was a lovely host, and that was a lot of fun. And usually I'm the one interviewing. So to be interviewed is it gave me a giggle, and it was just really inspiring. But the gal just got back from running the marathon in New York City, and beyond inspirational. I'm like, holy cow. Wow, wow, wow. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not a runner, and I'm not interested in running a marathon, but I am interested in doing the little 5Ks, which is, 3.2 miles. I enjoy those. They're fun. They're quick. They're still just as inspirational, but they get me moving, right? I'm not interested in doing it at this weight. Sorry, it's just fact. Okay. I just know I'm a healthier person when I'm not as heavy as I am today. But here's the thing. What's the cost in staying stuck? For me, it really is limiting what's possible for my future, right? I mean, who's to say I wouldn't want to do a 10K? What's the cost? I can guarantee you that staying stuck doesn't just hurt your heart. It takes a toll on your energy, your peace, and yes, even your ability to love again. And let me tell you, if you're not open to change, you're limiting what's possible for your future. I remember the times after my divorces where I didn't want to face the reality of change. I resisted the idea that I had to look inward and make some serious adjustments. It was painful, more painful than the actual breakup, to be honest, because not changing meant staying in my own echo chamber of negativity, limiting beliefs, and self-doubt. You're telling yourself, I'm just fine as I am, but deep down, you know that's a lie. Staying the same means staying stuck, and that's a pain no one deserves. So what happens when we resist change? Here's where things get a little juicy. The real pain of not changing, it's not always immediate. In fact, it actually sneaks up on you. You start noticing that you're missing out on opportunities to grow. You don't show up for yourself the way you want to. And before you know it, your relationships start to feel distant. Your career feels stagnant. And you're left wondering, how did I get here? The biggest thing that holds us back from change is fear. And fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of being rejected. We'd rather cling to our comfort zones, even when those zones are full of drama, pain, toxicity, and heartache. And I get it, it's familiar. But familiarity doesn't always mean happiness, does it? You guys know the answer to that. So ask it. Answer that question. I get it, it's familiar, but that itself doesn't always mean happiness. Think about it. Now, if you're doing what you've always done, you're going to keep getting the same result. It's like trying to bake a cake, but every time you add the same ingredients, you get the same recipe. It keeps coming out flat and sad. You're going to get frustrated, right? Same with life. If you don't change the way you approach things, nothing is going to improve. I say this all the time. If nothing changes, then nothing changes. And yet we deal with change every single day. Every single day we deal with change. Change of the weather. Sometimes we change our normal routine without even realizing we changed our normal routine. For example, what happens if you jump into the hot shower and it's not hot, it's cold? That's a change. What happens if you're at your makeup counter and you're putting your mascara, you run out of mascara, so you end up using a brown one instead of a black? Whoa, hey, that's change. What happens if you go in and to put your nylons on because you're getting ready for work and have a run in your pantyhose? You decide to wear pants instead of the dress. Again, change. We constantly are changing. Nothing is the same. Nothing is the same. I've been there. I've resisted change so hard only to realize that the pain of staying the same was worse than the pain of embracing the unknown. So let's talk about the other side of change, because that's where the magic happens. When I finally decided to take the plunge, when I stopped resisting and started doing the work to heal, the freedom I experienced was like taking a deep breath after being underwater for too long, like that big gulp of fresh air. And here's a little secret. You ready for this one? Lean in. If you are multitasking, come back to me. Change doesn't have to be as dramatic as we make it out to be. It doesn't mean overhauling your entire life overnight. It's the little things. It's showing up for yourself, even when you don't feel like it. It's saying no to the things that drain you and yes to the things that light you up. Here's what I've learned. Change is empowering. When you make that decision to prioritize your own happiness, you start feeling more in control. You feel like you're steering your own ship instead of floating aimlessly in a sea of indecision and doubt and fear. When I was going through my own healing, I had to make tiny adjustments in how I thought about myself, how I treated myself, how I viewed my past. And little by little, those little tiny shifts compounded into massive growth. Before I knew it, I was living a life that felt so much more aligned with who I was meant to be. It was empowering, and I couldn't wait for the next day. So if you're ready to embrace change but don't know really where to start, you're like, Nichole, where do I start? I've got you. Here we go. Change doesn't have to be overwhelming. In fact, the smaller the step, the easier it becomes to stick with. So let's break it down. Start with awareness. And if you heard the show before, I'm going to say this. Awareness is huge. You have to be aware of all the little things you want to change first and foremost. So the idea for myself is working out, and now I have a workout accountability buddy again, and I'm beyond thrilled. I also know too that sleep is so important for me, and I'm not getting it right now. So for me, it's removing my phone, it's removing the remotes, and just being able to just lay there with my thoughts and trying to meditate positivity and understanding that my body needs the sleep, my mind needs it more. I'm just making little tiny changes to adjust more comfort when I sleep. So starting with awareness, take a step back and ask yourself, what's not working? Is it a habit, a mindset, a relationship? Just getting clear on what needs to change is the first step towards freedom. So start with awareness. Next is to set intentions, not expectations. Instead of saying, no, I have to change everything now, start small. Set an intention to change one thing, even if it's just for a week. For example, you might want to say, I'll prioritize my mental health today, or I'm going to do something nice for myself this weekend. I love celebration, so celebrate the tiny wins. Every little change you make, no matter how small, is a victory. And don't wait until you completely transform to celebrate yourself. You've got to celebrate the little tiny steps. So if I choose to work out every single day this week, I'm throwing a party on the weekend. That's right, I'm gonna. Don't wait until you have completely transformed to celebrate yourself. Do it along the way, because those little wins really build momentum. And soon enough, you'll look back and realize how far you've come. I love that gratitude attitude. I enjoy surrounding myself with support, and I highly recommend you do the same, because change is hard. And when you've got a support system in place, whether it's a friend, a therapist, or even a coach, shameless plug, I know, but that's what I'm here for. You need people around you who will cheer you on and hold you accountable. Yes, even coaches and therapists have their support group. Because remember, if you don't change, you keep reliving the same painful cycle. And you deserve so much more than that. I deserve so much more than that. We do. We absolutely deserve that. All right, my friends, I hope this episode has got you thinking about the change you're avoiding and the real cost of staying stuck. It's not easy, but you can do it. If you've been nodding your head along the way with me today, I want you to check out some of the resources I've got to help you on this journey. Whether it's my Dare to Begin membership, Confidence Looks Good on You course, or one-on-one coaching, I am here to help you break free from the pain of not changing. Thank you so much for tuning in to my 100th episode today. If this episode hit home, do me a favor and share it with someone who might need a kick in the pants to start changing. And hey, let's keep the conversation going on social media. So find me on Instagram. Let's chat about the little changes you're making in your life and understand that you are not alone in this. We're in this together. And as always, dare to begin. I'll see you next time. That's a wrap for today's episode. I hope you're feeling as refreshed as a spiked lemonade on a hot day. If you love what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and spread the love. Want to go deeper? Check out my courses, women's retreats, and the Dare to Begin membership, where we put everything we've learned into action. NicholeBanks.com. Don't forget, I spell my name with an H. NicholeBanks.com. Until next time, keep leveling up and dare to begin.